welcome to this course AEM501, and your lecturer again is Dr. Okukengodi. And in this week 8, we will be looking at a part of Module 4, Unit 1. If you remember, we did Unit 4 the other time and part of Unit 1, and today we'll be rounding off with Unit 1, and in that remaining part we'll be looking at measures of central tendency. We'll be looking at mean, media, and mode. We'll also be looking at measures of dispersion, and under it we'll be looking at quartile and then range. All right, it's going to be an interesting course, and it's a very important part of every research, especially the mean, media, and mode. Thereafter, we'll move to Unit 2, where we'll be looking at report writing. And under report writing, will be at the end of the course, the students should be able to appraise the methods of preparing a research report. They should be able to identify the target audience, which may include the sponsor of the research and possibly the policy maker and the academic community that is interested in that particular report. The students should also be able to provide a framework for preparing a research report. And at the end of this class, I'm very sure you'll be well grounded and you'll be well happy that you did attend the class. I promise it's going to be an interesting class as we look forward to participating in the class. Thank you for listening, and you have a beautiful day. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. We are onto this course AEM501, and this is Unit 2, and of course week 8, and this is the last class for the semester. And at the end of this class, though we are taking part of Unit 1, which we did not finish last week, and the rest part of Unit 2. And so at the end of this first class, which is Module 4, Unit 1, the students should be able to understand the measures of central tendency, which has to do with main, media, mode, and they should be able to calculate measures of dispersion and know about the range and quartiles. In Unit 2 of Module 4, the students should be able to appraise the method of preparing a research report. They should be able to identify the target audience, sponsor of research, administrator or policymakers, academic community, to prepare the report accordingly. They should also be able to provide a general framework for preparing a report. Talking about measures of central tendency, which is 3.5. Measures of central tendency or location are measures that help to locate where the data are concentrated, centered, clustered, or packed. The most common measures of central tendency are main, media. Talking about the mode is more or less the most common frequency among the numbers that we are working with. So that is the number that appears most. While the median is that center number. And of course, it has a formula, which is n plus 1 all over 2, or n all over 2. It is n plus 1 all over 2 when the array of numbers are in odd number, while it is n over 2 when we are working with even numbers. And at the end of the day, the number we will get, we'll use it to locate that particular end term among the line of numbers after arranging them in ascending or descending. Then talking about the same median, of course, we have seen, just like I said, we use the formula n all over 2 or n plus 1 all over 2. And of course, it goes like that. We get a figure at the end of the day, which we use to trace the number after arranging them in ascending. And talking about the mean, of course, the mean can be calculated either in the array of numbers or putting them in tables. Okay, and at the end of the day, of the numbers, the mean is more affected by skew distribution, and of course the median test for skew distribution, while the mode is greatly influenced by distribution. Coming to measures of dispersion. Measures of dispersion or measures of variability determine how far apart the observations are. It is possible for two different sets of data to have the same mean but different values of the same measure of dispersion. Measures of dispersion include range, quartiles, mean deviation, variance, and standard deviation. Talking about the range is calculated as HS minus LS, where HS is the highest number among the array of numbers, while LS is the smallest number or the lowest number plus 1. So it is HS minus LS plus 1, and that gives us the range of the number. And talking about quartiles, this refers to the point on a distribution below which a certain percentage of scores will be found. This is calculated exactly the same way as median. And where quartiles are concerned, the quartiles simply means dividing a particular number into 4. If it is 20, then it's dividing it into 4. And then the first quartile will now become 5, the second quartile will be 10, the third quartile will be 15, and the fourth quartile will be 20. That is if 20 is the number we are working with. Okay, gentlemen, we saw mean deviation. There is also the variance. The variance can be gotten by simply getting this mean deviation, which has to do with subtracting each number from the mean. Okay, so in this particular case of a variance, that subtraction, what we'll get as the answer, in other words, we say the original number minus the x. X means the number that we're talking about. We'll see that better when we go into the calculation proper. But most importantly, we now square that subtraction, okay, which is x minus by x. We now square it. When we square it, we now calculate. By the time we calculate, all what we are going to get at the end of the day, we'll add them together. After adding them together, we'll now divide by the number of them. Now go to Unit 2 of Module 4. I'm talking about Unit 2. Unit 2 has to do with report writing. And report writing is all about writing the report or putting the report of what the research is all about. Of course, it is stated as one of the most difficult aspects of research in preparing, in the course of preparing a report. In other words, writing a report is a difficult task as far as research process is concerned. However, this research report helps to put together in a meaningful way and communicate to others of what has been done. Otherwise, it will not have much more relevance. For that fact that writing the report could be difficult, sometimes it scares people. Ladies and gentlemen, report writing is a process of analyzing, understanding, appreciating, and consolidating the findings and project a meaningful and coherent view of the phenomenon study. Let it be known that the sole purpose of research writing or scientific writing is to inform the people. Hence, it would be accurate and truthful without exaggeration. Going further, research writing is usually written in past tense. The purpose of the report is to communicate with oneself, but communication is not to communicate with oneself, but to communicate with the audience. In other words, it is what you have done, not doing it to yourself now, but communicating it to others. And again, this report should be made as clear as possible so that it makes meaning to the reader. Okay, there are different procedures, of course, and the procedure depends on the field of study and the way the research was carried out. It may start with the statement of the problem, presentation of the research methodology, results, discussions, conclusions, and there are some basic qualities of a good scientific writing, which include accuracy and clarity. The first question that comes to the writer of the report is what information to convey and how the various points are related to one another. The requirement for this is to write a detailed outline of the proposed report and to go over it again to discover any omissions. It would be desirable to have someone to go through the outline and make comments regarding the coverage, sequencing, the points. Report writing may also vary with the nature of the study and the particular discipline in which the report has been prepared. As for the writing style, one should be guided by the objectives of the writing, the sole purpose of which is to convey information rather than to achieve a target audience. The form of a research report will depend upon the target audience. The research report can be prepared for the academic community, the sponsor of a research, or the general public. Reports prepared for an academic community may take the form of a thesis or dissertation, leading to some academic degree or research article publishable in the research reports prepared for the sponsors of a research. They become the target audience. The needs of the sponsor may be different as they may want to understand problem or solve a problem. The purpose of the research report is to highlight the various aspects of the problem studied based on the objectives in terms of fulfilling the requirements of the sponsor. It gives answers to the research questions proposed by them in an effort to solve or whether the research report is meant for the public or otherwise. The main concern would be to know the salient features of the findings without bothering about technicalities. Based on technicalities. Based on the target audience, research reports can be classified into comprehensive research report, research articles, and a summary report. Each of these may take the form in which it meets the requirements of one and not numerous target audience at the same time. The form, content, and style of the research report should be chosen to suit the level of knowledge, experience, and interest of the target audience, as well as to anticipate the likely uses of the research. Suggestions for preparing reports. Comprehensive research report. The report should be an effort to narrate the total research process and experience. The experience of the researcher should be documented in selective and organized way. The objective of the research report is to communicate with the target audience, and hence the level of knowledge, understanding, and the audience should be kept in mind. The major thrust of the report should be to communicate what actually happened throughout the research process and not simply what we hope would happen at each stage. Research articles. It deals with different facets of a research problem in a more detailed fashion, emphasizing the methodology adopted in the study. Also, the conclusions are to be related to the specific objectives. Summary reports. Summary reports are generally meant for the general public. Since summary reports may receive wide distribution, they are frequently written in less technical language and may take greater use of better methods of presenting. Reports for administrators and policymakers. We may have to prepare reports for administrators and policymakers, which may have implications for their activities. In case the research is aimed at evaluation of ongoing action program, the report should contain 1. An assessment or appraisal of the quality and quantity of activity or effort. 2. Describe performance. 3. Evaluate adequacy of performance with regard to the total need. 4. Report efficiency, and this should be in cost, time, and personnel. 5. Specify how and why the program did not work or why it acts. All right. The report will be divided into two parts. The first part, a brief introduction containing the background of the problem, the broad aspects of the program, the terms of reference or objectives of the study may be given. It may be followed by a summary of the findings and suggestions and recommendations. In part 2, it may contain a detailed description of the program, sources of data, procedures followed, statistical analysis of the data, discussion, conclusion, and recommendation. And of course, this may be followed by references and appendices of matters. Going further, this report may carry title, forward, contents, and okay. Then talking about the review of previous studies. Yes, sometimes we carry out a review of previous studies, and such should carry methodology. And this methodology simply tells us how this research was carried out before, and that's why it is a previous discussion and interpretation. While preparing for the data, proper tabulations must be made given information about the type of data contained in each table or the type of measures utilized. The way in which the table has to be read should be implied in the title, and explanation of the figures contained may be given as footnote. However, three major aspects should be taken into consideration. These are a statement of the inferences drawn from the findings. 2, the researcher should indicate the condition of his study that limits the extent of legitimate generalization. 3, the discussion of the implications should also include relevant questions that are still unanswered or new questions. And that takes us to some of the questions which are good for you to go through as students of this course, so that it will enable you to have an in-depth knowledge. And with that, I say thank you for listening.